I started in very early 1967. I had gotten kicked out of Jacksonville State, and my father knew the registrar here really well. Her name was Dorcas Kirkpatrick. And so when I came back to Birmingham, he called her, and because he had read that this had just turned into a four-year college from being the Extension Center. And Dorcas got me in that very first semester or quarter, I think it was on the quarter system then, in 1967. Well, getting the paper together was not my idea. The administration, I think especially the Student Affairs and English Department, put up notices about wanting to start a student newspaper. Probably about early to mid 1967, and I saw the notice, and I said that, well, I'd worked on my high school newspaper and had done some other writing, and I said that sounds like a good fit for me, so I think especially since it offered $100 a month to the editor, which in 1967 was pretty darn good for a college student. So yeah, I submitted my name for that. I had 2 assistant editors, and then I had about 2 or 3 staff members. And the paper came out monthly at that time. And that was the way the Publications Board had set it up, and that was fine. The first issue promoted, on the front page, promoted the very first dance that was ever held at UAB, featuring a popular 1960s group called the Tams. And we started out really just sort of having fun with it. There were some serious things in the first issue, but there were also a lot of things that were just sort of fun, because we were just starting something completely new. And there had been a paper here before, when it was the Extension Center, called the Kaleidoscope. And that name probably helped Melinda, my first assistant editor, come up with the name Kaleidoscope. So we just, from center to Kaleidoscope.
My name is Tim Stephens. I attended UAB from 1991 until 2015. I'm really proud to be a Blazer, and particularly proud to be an alumnus of the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I was a student at UAB. I was actually recruited to the university by legendary basketball coach Gene Bartow. I was a junior college student, and he was recruiting one of my classmates, and I got to know him through that. And he recruited me to come work in athletics and help with the starting of the NCAA football program. From there, I discovered Kaleidoscope and followed my true passion, which was sports journalism. I went through multiple incarnations with Kaleidoscope over multiple tenures. I was the editor, I was the sports editor, I was the sports columnist, the news editor, the managing editor. I think I even did features editor for a brief time as a fill-in. So I had many roles with Kaleidoscope, but I was very honored to be editor in 1994 when some very important stories were happening at the university, and to be part of covering those and breaking a lot of news about UAB over many of the established outlets here in Birmingham.
Hi, I'm Chandler Jones, and I'm the current editor-in-chief of the UAB Kaleidoscope. I joined the Kaleidoscope my very first day of UAB. I graduated from Auburn in 2014 with a degree in journalism, and I worked at a newspaper in Charlottesville, Virginia for a couple years before wanting to get my master's degree. You know, when I was in college, the Plainsman was my safe spot. Like, I would go there, spend a lot of time there, and it just made me feel at home being there. I knew that I needed to find that at UAB, and I did, and Marie Sutton, the beautiful Marie Sutton, saw me and did not let me leave without making sure that I was coming back the next day. So I got on as the visual content manager under Sarah Faulkner, and then eventually Tamara and Mom, both beautiful and wonderful editors of the UAB Kaleidoscope. I would not be here without either of them, and from there, I just sort of blossomed under the ability to be creative and be interesting and have a lot of fun with a lot of cool people doing a lot of great things.
The first two assistant editors were Melinda Heidel, and the other one, his name was Bruce Gilliland. But he told the board when he signed on as second assistant editor that he would have to go back to Auburn in 3 months. So when he went back to Auburn, a friend of mine who was on the first SGA, her name was Nita McBride, she brought this guy into the office, and by that time we did have an office in the old Tidwell Hall. And she said, I think my friend Jim might be perfect to take Bruce's place. And Jim and I just hit it off. I mean, like you wouldn't believe. And we were best friends throughout college. And it was so much fun working with him. We had a very similar outlook on life. We had a very similar sense of humor. You could not have imagined a better assistant editor. So Jim and I would go down to the printing company, and we'd sit there in my grandmother's office with a bottle of bourbon and some ice and some Coca-Cola and ginger ale, and we would basically, I mean, we did have help from the staff, but we would basically put the newspaper together that one night between cocktails. And it was so much fun. It's one of my greatest memories of the Kaleidoscope.
Sunday nights at the Kaleidoscope office were an absolute party. We'd bring pizzas in and work all night and pull those all-nighters. Often we would finish the paper right at the deadline with someone screaming at us to hand over the pages because they needed to be driven. The paper was printed in Coleman, so we had to meet that deadline to get it there to be printed.
So when I came, the first day I got to the Kaleidoscope, I just remember all of the organization they already had. They had already written the paper up for that week, and they'd already, it was just cool to see. They had sectioned it off, and they had all of these, the big whiteboard was full of ideas, and it was just something that I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to put my creative input into that. I just was so excited to see it. And what I had been trained on sort of lended me to building a great print product with them, and I was excited to do so.
I would assign articles. Sometimes the staff members came through, sometimes they didn't. When I was looking through some of the old papers today, I found one that had a huge, basically empty block of space. And I said, articles by Mike Moon and Linda McCracken were supposed to be in this space, but they failed to turn them in. And I never had a problem after that. Everybody else from then on always turned their stories in.
Much like it is today, it's really funny. I follow things here. I've moved back to Birmingham and I see a lot of the stories. And in many cases, they are the same stories and the same issues that we were writing about in 1991 and 1992 and 1993. The parking story at UAB probably will never end, right? I mean, that's just one that everybody's going to talk about.
The two biggest issues that we had when I was editor were parking and UA football tickets. Those were the things that people asked me about all the time.
Kaleidoscope was one of the great passions of my career. I lived and breathed the student media experience here at UAB. I literally put it above all else, unfortunately, even sometimes my classes. It was just a way of life for those of us who were a part of it. I carry with me cherished friendships to this day, and we are so excited to be getting back together and coming back maybe to a homecoming game and other events. And that process of coming back home to Alabama has allowed me to connect with that new generation of journalists and, maybe occasionally offer them a piece of insight that might help them along the way, as others did for me. Student media at UAB is a vibrant part, an essential part of the student experience here. And if someone asked me, I would say that is something that should be protected at all costs. Student media helps create and tell the stories of what is happening at this university and part of this community, and we would not thrive without it.
Just keep doing what you're doing, and I hope all of y'all will be back here for the 100th anniversary. Hope you'll maybe look a little better than I do and dress a little better than I do, but I sincerely hope that each and every one of you will be back here for the 100th anniversary of the Kaleidoscope.
Happy birthday, Kaleidoscope. Go get it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let them shut doors in your face. Go get information that other people can't get. Generations have come before you, generations will come after, but we will always tell the story of UAB.
For my current staff, this newspaper would be nothing without you guys. You are everything. You are the blood, you are the nervous system, you are the brain. I would not do this without you. Each one of you is specifically picked to be as absolutely perfect as you are, and I love you. You know, I say it all the time, I love you. Thank you for everything you do. To the future editors and the future employees, good luck. You guys, this is gonna be such a good time. Don't laugh as much as we do. Please get some work done. Try so hard to be the best that you can be, and that's good enough, I promise. Always have an eye on this campus and this city, because it's just gonna keep growing and the things are just gonna keep changing. And you know, I'm sort of jealous of you. So have a great time and don't ever stop.